Welcome to video number 3 in our series about the sequencer of the Behringer Crave. If you haven't watched the first two, you might want to go back and check those out. There's a few topics that I wanted to cover from the last video, just briefly, that I didn't get to. One is that we can shorten a sequence while it's playing, not only make it longer. So, for example, let's say I have a sequence like this one. Right now it's 4 steps. I would like it to be 3 steps. So I'm going to press Shift, Set End, 3. I can go to 2. Now, the nice thing, of course, I haven't lost what was in step 3 or step 4. They're still there. Next, I would like to clarify the transpose function while a sequence is playing. We have to talk a little music theory here, so if you're not familiar with some of this terminology, my apologies. If you have a sequence that doesn't start on a C, like the vast majority of music doesn't start on a C, you need to know what's going to happen when you press one of the keys for transposition. Let's clear out the current pattern, and I'm going to record a single note. I'm going to record an E flat. Okay, now if I push play, now my sequencer is playing an E flat. Now we know that if I press another key, I'm going to transpose this sequence. But the question is, transpose it to what? If I press C right here, nothing is going to happen, because C represents the current key of whatever it is you're playing. I'm not saying that you're in the key of C. What I'm saying is that C is the present key, whatever it happens to be. And right now, we're simply in E flat. If I want to transpose my sequence up a major second, I would press D, which is a major second above C. What my sequencer is now playing is the pitch F. And if I press stop and I hold F, so what I'm playing is an F. Even though I press the D key, if I want to go back to the original, I press C again. Let's say I want to transpose my sequence up a minor sixth. A minor sixth above C is A flat. So if I press A flat, I've now transposed my sequence up a minor sixth. From the pitch was E flat to now the pitch C flat, or B natural. If I want to go back to the original, I just press C. This is the same behavior that you'll find on the MS1, also on the Arturia key step, if you have one of those. So once you start a sequence, it doesn't matter what note it started on or anything like that. What you're selecting when you take the transpose action is the distance above or below the current sequence. So if you want to transpose up a minor second, you're right here. If you want to transpose up a perfect fourth, you go to here. You want to transpose up a tritone, you go here. Same thing if you want to transpose down. Right now, this is my current location. If I back up an octave and press 5, I'll go down a perfect fourth and then back up. I can just go down an octave by pressing that one. I can go up a tritone from there, and I can get back to the original by pressing that one. So I hope that helps clear up any confusion you might have had about the transpose function. It is not changing to a specific pitch. It is changing by an interval. All right, let's talk about saving and recalling our sequences. This can be a rather annoying series of key presses to remember, but if you write it on an index card and then refer to it a few times, you should be okay. Let's record a little sequence. That's an octave too low for me. Clear it out. Great. Now, I've just recorded a little CDEF sequence. And I want to record this to somewhere on my instrument. So the first thing I do is I press Shift and play, and I hold them down until the red light goes away and the green light starts flashing. There we go. When you go to save a pattern, you need to decide where you're going to save it. There are 8 banks of 8 patterns each. So 64 total patterns. Now, to me, the manual presents this in a kind of reversed sequence, suggesting that you should pick a pattern and then pick a bank, which seems backwards to me if you have banks of patterns. I think you should choose a bank first and then the pattern in the bank. If you're like me and you think that's weird, the good news is that it doesn't actually matter in which order you take the next 2 steps. So I want to save my little sequence in bank 5, pattern 4. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to choose my bank. To do this, I'm going to press pattern 5. Now I'm in bank 5. Now you see that this little 4 is flashing. That's just telling me the pattern within the bank. For this, you don't need to press any buttons. If I wanted pattern 2, I would just press 2. If I wanted pattern 7, I just press 7. If I wanted 8, I just press 8. I want 4. To reaffirm what bank I'm in, I can press the pattern bank button again. It shows me 5. I let go. There I'm in 4. Now, don't forget this. You have to press Shift plus Record to actually save. I have forgot this step so many times, and I could not figure out what I was doing wrong. You don't need to hold it down either. Like you did at the beginning with Shift plus Play, it's just an instant action. Shift, Record, and it's done. If you want to load a pattern, the steps are similar, but they're not identical. There's a slightly different key press involved. Now, right now, my Crave is in bank 5, pattern 4. Let's say I wanted to see what I have in bank 1, pattern 1. To load that, I need to press Shift Bank. You'll see it's pointing to 5. I'm going to choose 1. And then I'm going to hold pattern 1. Now I am in bank 1, pattern 1. I'm going to push play. And all I have there is a default C. If I want to go to bank 5, pattern 4, I hold Shift pattern 5, pattern 4. Notice whenever I say Shift, the action that it gets taken is usually the thing that's under the first word in kind of a reverse text. The strange thing is that when you are in the record feature, you don't have to hold Shift to get to the bank. But when you're in the load feature, you do have to hold Shift. And now I'm in bank 5, pattern 4. As a sequence is playing, you can choose to load another sequence. Right now, I am in bank 5, pattern 4. I'm going to create a new sequence. Well, I'm going to clear what's here first. Now, this might look like I've just cleared what's in bank 5, pattern 4, but I haven't saved anything yet. So all I've done is return it to neutral, but I haven't actually lost what was originally in bank 5, pattern 4. I'm going to press record something pretty noticeably different. And now I'm going to save this to bank 5, but pattern 1. So I'm going to start the saving function. Shift play until it flashes. Pattern. So this is bank 5. Now right now it's flashing pattern 4. Press 1. Now I'm going to press Shift record. Alright. So now if I push play, This is bank 5 pattern 1. I can load bank 5 pattern 4, and we recognize that one. If I want to play pattern 1 while pattern 4 is going, I can just hold pattern and press 1. And I can get back to the other one by pressing 4. Notice that it doesn't wait until the current sequence is over. So if I was to go to 4 right now, it starts it immediately when you press it on the next beat of the sequencer. So if you want to chain them where one sequence starts after another one, you will have to be very accurate about your timing of the key presses. If I'm in bank 1, pattern 1, and I want to get to bank 5, pattern 4, first I'm going to press Shift Bank so I can move to 5. What I'm hearing right now is in pattern 1 of bank 5, and not until I press 4 will I hear what's in pattern 5, bank 4. So just be aware that there will be that moment where the Behringer knows you have switched banks, but doesn't know you have switched patterns. If you make changes to a saved sequence, you can get back to the last saved state in 2 ways. Let's go back to bank 1, pattern 1. What do we have here? All right. I'm going to edit. Step 3, I'm going to add some ratchet to it. Now, let's say I want to get back to what is supposed to be saved in pattern 1. I could just load another pattern. I could just press pattern 5 and then go back to pattern 1. And then all of that stuff that I did, all that recording and the ratchet and everything, it's gone. Now, but let's say I don't want to go to another pattern to do that. I'm going to edit Shift 3 again, add some ratchet to it. I don't like these changes. I want to go back to what I had here before. I can press pattern reset, and it will go back to what was saved in the pattern. Our last topic for today, the other method of working with sequences, is called step mode. We've been in keyboard mode pretty much this entire time. Well, yes, the entire time. If I press Shift and the right arrow, you'll see now this light turns yellow, and this looks different than it's looked in the past. Now it's showing me the length of a sequence. I'm going to delete all that. What you can do in step mode is you can choose the length of your sequence before you start. Remember, in keyboard mode, we just entered pitches, and then when we were done, we pressed the record button again, and that was the length of our sequence. In step mode, I can say, I want a 7-note sequence, and I'm going to press Set End, no Shift, 7. In fact, I don't even have to hold it down. I could just press Set End and push 3. Let's say I want a 7-note sequence. I've now created a 7-note sequence with 2 key presses. And that sequence is filled with the default stuff, which is a 4th octave C, gate 4. So this is handy if you know exactly how long you want a sequence to be before you start, and you don't want to inadvertently go past it, like if you were entering pitches in the keyboard mode. Also, this is kind of cool if you just need a lot of repeated notes in steps. It's a fast way to do it. And of course, if you want to go longer than 7, you can use the page button to move through the 4 pages, just as we did in keyboard mode. You still have the same 32 steps that you can put in your sequence. Another convenient use of step mode is for turning off and on certain steps while the sequence is playing. So I'm going to go back to my default mode, which is Shift keyboard. And you'll know you're in that one because it's green. And it shows you the octave of where your keyboard is currently playing. By the way, I'm in Bank 5, Pattern 4, which should sound like... Oh, I just saved that in step mode. I'm going to push reset. Oh no, now I've reset everything. I'm going to push pattern reset. And now I'm back to the last thing that was saved there. Now let's say I want to mute the second step. I could shift select this step and turn it into a rest, but then the note would be gone. I don't want to do that. I just don't want to hear it right now. If I just press this step, I'm going to transpose my sequence up a major second though. Oops. Let's go back to where we were. So how do I mute the second step? In step mode. Shift step. Now each step is illuminated. I'm going to choose step 2. Now I can't hear it. The information is still there. I just got rid of it. I can mute all of them. Bring them back one at a time. You may recall at the beginning of the video, I said you could edit the length of your sequence by holding Shift, Set End, and then choosing where you wanted it to end. If you happen to be in step mode, you can just press Set End and the new length. So, a couple uses for step mode. Otherwise, everything is the same. You can shift select a step and make changes to it as the sequence is going, doing things like accent or rest or ratchet. So that's it for this one. In the next one, we need to talk about the arpeggiator. See you then.